You know how every season of Love Island USA has that one girl the internet swears is doing too much? In Love Island Season 7, that girl was Olandria. Depending on who you followed, she was either your favorite, your villain, or the girl people said was desperate, undesirable, and chasing men who didn't want her. But then, the cameras turned off, the reunion aired, the Love Island Huda drama cooled down, and slowly, the interviews started dropping. Suddenly, you've got Zach, Jeremiah, and Nic on podcasts and YouTube quietly admitting that Olandria was actually attractive, intimidating, spiritual, mature, the old soul of the villa, and the woman they were nervous to talk to. So today we're asking, was Olandria really unwanted, or was she just a woman whose energy a lot of men and a lot of viewers simply weren't ready for? And we're not just talking about anyone. We're talking about Ace, Nicolandria, Nic and Olandria, Taylor, Cierra, Huda, the whole messy Love Island USA Season 7 that had people saying this was the wildest dating show season Peacock has ever given us.
Before we dive into how the desperate label completely fell apart, do me one tiny favor. Tap subscribe like you're coupling up with your favorite Islander before someone else steals them. It's quick. It's free, and it tells the algorithm you're choosing this channel over the bombshells on your homepage. All right, let's talk about what really happened with Nic, Olandria, Nicolandria, Ace, Taylor, Cierra, Huda, and why this Love Island story looks very different once you add the interviews and receipts back in.
Inside the villa, the edit made it very easy for viewers to label Olandria. We see her being sweet, cooking, checking on people, trying to hold the villa together while chaos breaks out. At the same time, the Taylor storyline becomes a huge focal point. She invests, shows interest, and even does things like preparing food for him, while he later sits in confessionals saying he's not really physically attracted. That mismatch between what she's giving and what he's saying behind her back is prime reality TV fuel. Add in her argument with Taylor and that awkward situation involving Clark, and suddenly the social media narrative becomes, why is she doing all that? Why is she chasing this man? Why is she begging to stay? On top of that, people started dragging her for secondhand embarrassment. Every season has that one moment viewers love to replay with captions like, I had to leave the room. And for some people, that was Olandria in that storyline. Clips get cut, context gets ripped away, and before you know it, she's not being seen as a complex person in a pressure cooker. She's reduced to the girl chasing someone who doesn't want her. But when you strip away the memes and look at how she actually moved, you start to notice something else. In villa conversations, especially with other women like Huda, fans pointed out that she was often surprisingly calm, measured, and willing to hear both sides instead of picking the loudest team. That's not messy energy, that's mature energy. And for some people, mature energy doesn't read as fun. It reads as too serious, until the interviews start dropping and the guys admit the truth. But before we get into what Zach, Nic, and Jeremiah actually said, we've got to understand why the villa was always going to misread someone like Olandria.
In a normal offline world, someone like Olandria is pretty straightforward to read. She's thoughtful, she takes her time, she tries to listen, and she doesn't rush to pick a side in every fight. Fans who paid attention to full conversations, not just quick edits, noticed that in emotional moments, especially with someone like Huda, she was able to sit in conflict without instantly exploding. Then you hear people from inside the villa talk about her and use words like spiritual, old soul, someone they went to when they were going through things. Jeremiah literally described her like that in interviews, spiritual, grounded, the old soul of the group who gave him real conversations when he needed it.
Compare that to the environment she's in. You're on Love Island USA, Season 7. The cameras are rolling, people are worried about screen time, couplings, eliminations, winning $100,000, and maybe starting an influencer career. In that world, soft, sweet, easy to read often gets chosen first.
Someone who seems grounded, intense, or like they won't tolerate nonsense, that's a harder decision under pressure. So from the outside, people saw Taylor dragging his feet and assumed if he doesn't want her, that must mean no one wants her. But quietly, some of the men were feeling something very different. They weren't uninterested, they were intimidated. And once they got out of the villa, that's exactly what they started to say out loud. Before we pull the receipts, quick reminder.
If you're still here, you clearly care more about nuance than the average comment section. So go ahead and hit subscribe like you're pressing that button before Casa Amor ruins your favorite couple. Okay, let's talk about what Zach admitted first. One of the clearest post-Villa perspectives comes from Zach. In a recent interview, he basically lays out that talking to Olandria was not casual for him at all. He describes her as really nice to talk to, very well-spoken, very sturdy in the way she presents herself. And then he says the part that flips the whole storyline. He doesn't usually get nervous talking to women, but when he was talking to Olandria, he actually felt nervous.
That alone is enough to blow up the undesirable narrative. Because undesirable is not how you talk about someone who makes you nervous in a good way. That's how you talk about someone who's in the room with the lights on, who knows what she wants, and is not going to play along with your little camera strategy. Then he explains his choice. When it came to picking between Olandria and Amaya, he says Amaya looked like a sweet girl looking for love, and he wanted to give her that. Read between the lines. He's not saying Olandria wasn't attractive. He's not saying she was boring. He's saying Amaya felt like the softer, safer pick, the girl who reads instantly as needs a hero, while Olandria gave off that she knows exactly what's going on and she will clock me if I play games energy.
And that's the thing no one wants to admit. Sometimes the nice guy choice on a dating show isn't the person who would challenge you to grow. It's the person who makes you feel like you're already a good guy. So while fans were posting memes about Olandria being unwanted, you've got Zach on the outside admitting that he was low-key shook by how composed and self-possessed she was. That's not undesirable. That's high stakes. And he's not the only one who felt that way.
Now let's talk about the other half of Nic Olandria. Nic. If you only watched the Villa episodes, it almost looked like their connection snuck up on him. But in post-show interviews, Nic tells a very different story. In multiple conversations after Love Island USA, Nic has said he was interested in Olandria from early on. One interview breaks down how from the moment she kissed him on the heart, he clocked her as someone he admired, even if he didn't pursue it fully right away. He's talked about secretly admiring her while still respecting whatever situations he was in, being careful about when and how he moved because of what was going on with Cierra and the rest of the Villa politics. And that's another layer people forget. He wasn't just thinking, is she my type? He was also thinking, if I move, who am I hurting? How does this look with Cierra? How does it look to America? How does it affect my place in the Villa? Later, he and Olandria literally had to apologize to Nicolandria Nation because they downplayed their feelings for so long that fans felt misled about what was going on between them. Again, that is not how you talk about a connection that was fake or one-sided. That's how you talk about something you were scared to fully claim on camera. When you add in Olandria's own explanation, that she initially tried not to allow herself to feel that spark with Nic out of loyalty and guilt, and that choosing him later felt like the first time she let herself be selfish for love, the story becomes even deeper. Now you've got a woman who feels guilty for catching feelings, a man who is nervous about how moving on will look in a villa full of people, and a fandom split between Cierra, Nic, and Nicolandria. From the outside, some viewers saw hesitation and coded it as no one really wants her. But backstage, it looks a lot like two people trying to manage a real connection while cameras, loyalty, and guilt are all screaming at them at the same time. And that brings us to the third piece of the puzzle, Jeremiah.
Jeremiah's interviews add another brick to the wall. In one conversation, when asked about who felt like girlfriend material, he literally names Olandria and talks about how spiritual she was, how she had deep conversations with him when he was going through things, and how she felt like the old soul of the group. That is not some casual compliment. That's someone looking back on a high-pressure environment and saying, when I needed real conversation, I went to her.
At this point, the no man wanted her narrative doesn't hold up under even the most casual scrutiny. The real story isn't that she was undesirable. The real story is that she was intense in a way that forced people to confront themselves. So how did we end up with such a huge gap between the way the men talk about her now and the way fans talked about her while the season was airing? For that, we have to talk about edits, online hate, and Olandria's own explanations.
When you only see 45 minutes of a 24-hour day, someone's entire personality can be boiled down to one storyline. For Olandria, that storyline centered around Taylor saying he wasn't physically attracted, her still trying to make things work, that confrontation that gave people secondhand embarrassment. Later, Olandria has talked in interviews about feeling misrepresented, particularly around that desperate framing. She's explained that if she had been told the full truth earlier, or if certain things had been said to her directly instead of in confessionals, the entire situation would have played out differently. On top of that, by the time the Love Island USA Season 7 reunion came around, they were not only talking about messy relationships, they were talking about intense online hate and bullying that she and others faced once episodes started airing. So imagine this. You're in a villa trying to navigate real feelings. You're not getting the full context of what someone is saying about you behind your back. Then months later, you watch it with the rest of the world and see yourself edited like a one-dimensional chaser. From the audience perspective, all you saw was, why is she still there? Why is she still trying? From her perspective, she thought she was trying to get clarity, trying not to throw away something she believed could be salvaged, trying to make choices with the limited information she had.
And that's the wild thing about dating shows like Love Island. The people who look chill and unbothered are often the ones checked out emotionally, while the people who look messy are usually the ones actually caring enough to try. It doesn't excuse every moment. Even she has admitted there were choices she would redo with the full truth in hand. But once you put her perspective next to Zach's, Nic's, and Jeremiah's, the label undesirable just stops making sense. And if that wasn't enough, her post-show glow-up dragged that narrative into the trash and set it on fire.
Let's look at where Olandria ended up after all this. First of all, she and Nic literally finished the season as the runner-up couple of Love Island USA Season 7, second place, right behind Brian and Amaya. Then, life after the villa happened. Olandria signed with a major digital talent management firm, landed brand deals in swimwear, cosmetics, and lifestyle campaigns, did multiple collabs with Nic, turning Nic Olandria into a recognizable reality TV brand, not just a one-season fling.
It didn't stop there. She went on to win an Ebony People's Choice Award at the Power 100 Gala and appear on the cover of their Power issue. Join Cosmopolitan's Z-Stars class of 2025, recognized as a creator shaping culture. Land a solo Harper's Bazaar Vietnam digital cover, telling the story of her journey from Alabama to the global spotlight. This is the same woman people called undesirable. The same woman they said no one wanted. The same woman they said was chasing men. Now she's booked, busy, winning awards, doing campaigns that highlight her college background and her story, and being talked about as someone on the way to icon status in the reality TV space. If anything, the post-show glow-up proved that what looked like too much on TV was actually the energy of someone built for a bigger stage than just a villa sunbed.
When you pull everything together,
The edits, the fandom, the interviews, the reunion, the brand deals, a pattern emerges. Inside the villa, Ace, Taylor, Cierra, Huda, Nic, Olandria, the whole Love Island Season 7 cast were locked into a compressed timeline where every choice felt like life or death. Some people got coded as fun, some as dramatic, some as villains, some as safe picks. Olandria got coded as the girl who wants it too much. But then, Zach says she made him nervous and calls her well-spoken and sturdy. Jeremiah calls her spiritual, the old soul, girlfriend material. Nic admits he admired her from the beginning, held back out of guilt and loyalty, and later had to apologize for downplaying their connection when Nicolandria became bigger than the show. Her own interviews reveal she felt misrepresented by edits that amplified desperation and hid context. Her career after the villa, management, brands, awards, covers, shows that the world outside the Love Island bubble absolutely did see her value.
So maybe the real story isn't, why didn't anyone want Olandria? Maybe the real story is, why are we so quick to call someone undesirable just because they refuse to shrink themselves into a casual island fling? Because if you look closely, the same maturity that made some men feel small is the same maturity that landed her major deals. The same presence that read as intimidating in a villa read as captivating on a magazine cover. And the same woman who was clowned for chasing the wrong guy is now part of a couple, Nic and Olandria, Nic Olandria, that fans still won't stop talking about long after the finale. So the next time you watch Love Island USA or any dating show and you feel tempted to comment, nobody wants her, ask yourself, is she actually unwanted? Or is she just the one person in the villa who refuses to lower the bar?
If you made it this far, you're officially part of the Nic Olandria Analysis Squad. Do me a favor before you go. Hit subscribe like it's a surprise recoupling and you're locking in your favorite before production brings in 3 new bombshells. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think men were really intimidated by Olandria? Do you think the edit did her dirty? And which couple from Love Island Season 7 do you want me to break down next? Ace and Huda, Taylor and Cierra, or more Nic Olandria? I'll see you in the next one.